I will now call the February 20th, 2018 Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. If you would stand with me, we're going to have Troop 362 from St. John Lalonde come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at the appropriate time that they've been instructed on. Right, Scoutmaster Burke? Or you're not the Scoutmaster? Well, we're going to blame it on you anyway, right? Okay, let's observe a moment of silence. You want to come on up? Face the flag. Once you all get positioned. Okay, so who's the leader that's going to start it out? Everybody's pointing at everybody else. Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Troop 362. We're happy that you came our way tonight to lead us in the pledge, and especially in weather like we're having out there. That shows that you're true troopers there. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. Unless there are items to be pulled, I accept the motion for approval. Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Councilman Levisay?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
I'll accept the motion to continue the public hearing on the rezone of Southwest Park until the March 5th council meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The presentation on the Human Relations Commission will be rescheduled for another time. So we'll move on to the next item. The one that is so exciting. Our audit report. All right.
Oh, did you already get down there? I'm sorry.
All right. Well, good evening. It's nice to see you all again. We're going to go through the results, I believe. Do you have all of the documents in front of you? And then, if you recall, I'll go through a summary up here on the PowerPoint that gives a summary of the financial data as well as really primarily the results of the audit. So the first item, and this is in the smaller stapled packet, as you recall, there are required communications that we as the audit firm go through with City Council at the conclusion of an audit to go through both results. Some of it's just a general update if there's things really kind of in the accounting world that you should be aware of, as well as if any items came up during the audit that we want to report on. So the first item you'll see there in the financial statements, or the CAFR, we did issue an unmodified or clean opinion. This is the highest opinion that we as auditors can give on the financial statements, meaning the financials are materially presented in accordance with GAAP. The next item to note, if the city had implemented any new accounting standards that had either a significant impact on how things were accounted for in the financials or any new disclosures. So the one item that we wanted to note, the city did implement GASB Statement 77 this year, and this relates to tax abatements. And so now included in this footnote in the financials, the city has implemented this and added all of the required disclosures. Primarily, those take a look at any tax abatement arrangements that the city has entered into. It provides a brief description of what those are, what the criteria are to be eligible to qualify for those. It also discloses what the dollar impact is. So focusing on if the city entered into any agreements, that ultimately do reduce revenue that is collected by the city as a result of that agreement, but also, the obligations that those involved have to meet that criteria. So again, you'll see disclosures for that new requirement this year. The next item, management judgments and accounting estimates. What this is going through is just as a part of our audit, we do take a look at those areas in the financials that have a component of subjectivity or management it has an estimate. And we're taking a look really at two things. One, to make sure management is following the policy that has been adopted by the city in that area, and also just that the process seems consistent with what we would expect to see with others in the industry. So those are summarized in the letter, and overall we took a look at those and they seemed, concluded that management's process was consistent with the city's policies. Audit adjustment, there was one immaterial item recorded. It relates to investments being recorded at fair market value. The accounting guidance just states that you record those on the financials at fair market value versus cost. It was an immaterial adjustment, but management went ahead and recorded that in the financials. And so really that's the only audit adjustment we had. So that's always a positive to be able to report back. The trial balance we've been provided by management is consistent really with the final audited document that you receive. And then we're not coming in and finding errors or other adjustments that need to be made as a result of our work. So that's a positive to the finance department again and the work that they're doing before we begin our audit. Uncorrected immaterial misstatements. We may have areas where again we identify an adjustment that's determined to be immaterial, and those will just be reported to you, but you'll see there that there were none in the current year audit. If there were any disagreements or issues that came up in the audit, those would be reported back to you, and there were none. Future accounting pronouncements, again, just to let you know if there's anything on the horizon. So those are disclosed in footnote 13 of the financial statements. The GASB has been issuing a lot of accounting pronouncements lately that have already been issued but not yet required to be implemented by the city. So you'll see those summarized there. The only one is similar where the city implemented the pension standard a couple years ago, where any unfunded portion of loggers is on the financials. A similar accounting pronouncement for OPEB is coming up. So again, post-retirement benefit obligations that you provide to employees, those will go on your financials as a liability in the future, similar to what pension did a couple years ago. The last item from an audit perspective, in an audit we take a look at internal controls. While we do not issue an opinion, we will report back to you if there's any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that came up as a result of our audit work, and there were none, and you'll see that communicated in the official audit communications there. So again, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over financial reporting noted. Just a few items to go through here. Again, the CAFR is obviously a large set of financials. As a brief reminder, a couple areas in the financials I would point you to. In the beginning is management's discussion and analysis. I would suggest that that's a good starting point. That's where management goes through and analyzes significant fluctuations in 2017 compared to 16. So they'll do it for the major funds, the general fund, as well as the enterprise funds. So that's a good kind of brief recap you can do where they're going through and explaining any significant changes compared to the prior year, as well as fluctuations compared to what was budgeted for. So going through, this is a summary of revenue by type in the general fund, specifically the general fund because again, that's the city's operating fund. You'll see when you just look at total revenue in 2017 compared to the prior year, really pretty consistent year over year. Revenue in the current year in that fund increased, I think, a little over $600,000, which was just between 2% and 3%. So most of the activity was pretty consistent year over year. I think the intergovernmental revenue, which is usually reimbursements for other costs, was the largest increase for the current year. Similar, again, specific to the general fund, here you'll see expenditures by function shown, which is how they show it in the CAFR, excluding capital outlay and debt service, but really just the other areas that are supported by the general fund, being just general government costs, public works, highway, streets, public safety, et cetera. So when looking at 2017, costs were up just under $1 million. So again, pretty consistent with the prior year as far as activity there. Here you'll see fund balance by category, and again, this is in the general fund. So this represents fund balance or equity in the general fund. So this is showing you the classifications. Management has to put these into the correct buckets as far as the financial statements. Non-spendable represents prepaids or interfund advances to other funds. So meaning when those are paid back, it does not necessarily, the money is already restricted for how it was used. The largest category in your general fund is committed. So that means areas that have been really restricted for a purpose by council. And so the two biggest areas in that category are the budget stabilization and the emergency reserves that were established by council a few years ago. The balance at year end, I think, is just over $7 million. So that's really where most of the money in the general fund is earmarked, is for that category. Legal debt margin, this is just a brief recap, taking a look at, obviously the city has significant capacity, at least as far as the city discloses the legal debt margin by taking a look at the bonded debt as a function of the assessed property tax values and how much debt has been issued against that limit. And so there you'll see at the bottom, you know, again, there's, you're nowhere close to your limit, we'll just say. So you can kind of see that in the chart there. Operating results for the enterprise funds. This is water, sewer, golf, field house. So again, these are the funds that operate in a business type nature. And so here you'll see operating revenue results compared to the last 3 years. Operating revenue was up in 2017, as were expenses. Depreciation expense, you'll see we back that out just because that's really a non-cash expense to the fund. So then you can see what net income is in those funds excluding that non-cash expenditure. And then cash flow from operations. You know, from a business type perspective, you can see what cash flows are that are being generated specific to the operations of the fund. And those were positive again in 2017. Any questions? I know that's pretty quick, but it's kind of hard to go through the CAFR in great detail. You know, again, I would suggest MD&A. The statistical section at the back has also a lot of good information that the city is required to show a 10-year history. So you can see debt information, revenue can be of interest. You can see what areas of revenue have fluctuated over the last 10 years. Lastly, that I should have mentioned, the city, you'll see in this CAFR, did receive the GFOA certificate for the 2016 CAFR. So you'll see that award included in the CAFR, and then they'll be submitting again the 2017 financials for that certificate as well. So any questions for me on the audit or financials or anything?
Any questions from the council? Seeing none. What number is this, Christine?
I was just trying to do that, but we started in 1982 was the year we first received our award. So we're, what, 35 years?
35 years, about as long as I am old, right?
Close.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that audit report.
Thank you
and I want
much.
to thank Karen and Christine and your staff for doing a great job. Next, we'll move to the introduction and reading of Bill 4550.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4550, an ordinance approving a development and performance agreement between the City of Blue Springs, Missouri and Forcia Interior Systems, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4550, an ordinance approving a development and performance agreement between the City of Blue Springs, Missouri and Forcia Interior Systems, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Move the bill be approved on second reading, given the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Fowler.
Well, this seems like a pretty interesting item. I wonder if you could comment on it and let us know a little bit about it.
Well, we're just very pleased and to be able to announce at my State of the City address on Thursday that Forcia is going to be building a 250,000 square foot production facility in Blue Springs that will employ 300 people. And considering that in the Kansas City area, there are jobs being lost at Harley-Davidson and Procter & Gamble, it's a positive note for Blue Springs, and I'm just happy that they chose Blue Springs to locate, because we are a city on the move and on the right track. It's a good feeling, you know. It's you just don't have people come lay that in your lap. It took some work, and we want to thank Mark from Economic Development Council for his hard work. All the staff involved. It was certainly an effort by a lot of people. You know, from the council, Councilman Susan Culpepper was very actively involved in it as the liaison to the EDC and attended a lot of those meetings, and we're just pleased. It's a good day.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other?
I'll make a comment here.
Yes. Eric.
Your Honor, just a couple of comments. Individuals in the audience here tonight with us, Kurt Peterson, just raise your hand, is representing Forcia, and Kurt has worked with us on a number of different projects. In fact, you approved an item on the consent agenda tonight regarding the mall at Fall Creek that Kurt is heavily involved in regarding some exciting things that you'll see coming to the mall at Fall Creek Retail Center. Rich Wood is with us with Gilmore Bell. These two attorneys have done a very outstanding job of working together. The plant manager for Forcia is here, and he is actually a Pleasant Hill resident, so he knows the area and is well versed in this part of eastern Jackson County. And we are excited about the opportunity that this has, and I know that they are currently working on a groundbreaking, and when that's going to happen and what that looks like, obviously contingent on your approval tonight. I just want to personally thank the City Council for what you did to work through the difficult issues and your decision to go all in and to make this happen. So thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. It's great to hear all this. I guess one of the things the citizens always ask is, you know, when does it actually open? When one of the jobs become effective? Is there any kind of schedule out there that anybody can talk to?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Your Honor. Members of council, thank you. The schedule is very aggressive for completion of the building. Right now, they're targeting the end of 2018, and I've got in that summary memo that they'll have full production in January of 2019. There'll still be ramp up there, but the building will be live there that first quarter of 2019. So wow. Very, very quickly, they were talking about, you know, moving dozers at 12:01 as soon as we give them the go-ahead here. Planning approvals will be coming in hopefully on the March 12th Planning Commission meeting, and then to you all later in the month of March.
That's something. Some houses take 10 months, so yeah. Let alone production facility.
Well, I've gotten my hard hat that I wore if I stay to the city, so if you need me, just call me.
And the mayor mentioned 259,000. I would only add that's expandable, so maybe we can start talking about that now, so in 10 months we're prepared for that.
It's on the move.
And on the right track. You were waiting.
Okay, is that it? Further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4719.
Next, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 12-2018.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. Next, we have the second reading of bill number 4546.
Second reading of bill number 4546, an ordinance annexing 29.07 plus or minus acres at the northeast corner of Northeast Jefferson Street and Northeast 20th Street to the city of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move that bill be approved on second reading, given the appropriate ordinance number.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4720.
The next item, introduction and reading of bill 4551 will be moved to the March 5th council agenda. So there's no action there. Next, we have mayoral announcements. We have somebody back there in the booth we want to bring out so we can make a proper introduction. It's a little cold in that booth there, so she's had to take her jacket off so she can come out. We want you to meet the person that is going to be filling the spot that Kim Nakahoda held, that she moved on to greater opportunities in North Kansas City as Assistant City Administrator. So we have Danya Turkmani. And one of the requirements for this job is to have a last name that's hard to pronounce. So Turkmani. So anyway, we want to welcome you officially. Today is her first day on the job. She couldn't have chosen a better day to come than in an ice storm. But she was here, and I'm sure she was probably here way ahead of time because of the excitement of being part of this group. So anyway, anything you would like to say?
No, thank you so much for welcoming me as you all have today.
All right. So we're looking for exciting things to continue right here in Blue Springs. So thank you, Daniel. Okay, we're wrapping up Black History Month, and during the month of February, I recognize people that have made tremendous contributions. And tonight is no different. The person, quote, will come from Frederick Douglass, and most of you know who Frederick Douglass was. Frederick Douglass was a social reformer, abolitionist, an orator, a writer, and a statesman. And his quote tonight is, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." End quote. Don't have any visitors' appearance forms. So with that, we will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. We adjourn.